So after another hectic weekend in the Championship, we are back to discuss all of the weekend's action. In today's video, we've got a lot of talking points to go over, which I'm of course interested to get your guys' views on. So leave all your thoughts in the comments down below. The league table's getting more interesting week to week. That gap at the top of the Championship is starting to narrow down now. And I'll also leave a few polls for you guys to vote on for today's video as well. Before we do get into anything though, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors over at OneFootball. As always, their link will be in the top line of the description down below. If you want to look at any of the games that we do go over in today's video in a little bit more detail, then you can go over to the OneFootball app. And as we are in January, we've got a lot of football coming up over the next few weeks. We've got the FA Cup coming back up in the next few weeks. We've got more Championship action. We've got FA Cup replays that are going on midweek, which we'll be predicting at the end of today's video that involve a Championship club. Over on the OneFootball app, we can keep up to date with all those games that are going on. So like I said, I would highly recommend, link in the description down below. And before we do get into talking about any of the games, I will include your guys' score predictions on screen now. So if any of you did successfully manage to get any of your score predictions correct for the weekend, then fair play. I got 2 of mine correct this week, but I got both the Brentford and Blackburn games correct, so not too bad going from me. But without any further ado, let's hop in to talk about these games. So starting it out with the early kickoff on Saturday, which saw Brentford beating QPR by 3-1 and closing the gap to Leeds to just 6 points now. And I mean, we've said it on the channel for a while now, you know, if anyone can catch the top 2, then with the form that Brentford are in at the moment, then it is then they're scoring a lot of goals going forward, and obviously with the best defence in the league so far, they are looking like quite a strong contender for that. But once again, it was all of their forward 3 on the score sheet for this one, and I mean, especially in the first half, they made light work of this QPR side, who just didn't show up for the first 45 minutes. They were really poor. Brentford caught QPR out with quite a clever set piece, really, with Ben Rama's opening goal. Ben Rama making that run across the box. QPR were quite static defensively, and no one picked him up, and it was a nice finish. And Bimo made it too soon after that. Joe Lumley with quite a poor kick. Brentford recycled the ball in midfield. Then Cameron made a bit of a mess of the clearance, and then Bimo caught Joe Lumley out, and he was caught flat on his feet to make it 2-0 to Brentford. Ollie Watkins then made it 3 before half-time. Once again, great positional sense from Ollie Watkins there to get in those positions, and he is now the joint top scorer in the Championship with 18 goals so far this season. Ollie Watkins this season, playing in that number 9 role, really has taken his game to the next level, and it is his movements in those positions that really does get him into a lot of those goal scoring positions. QPR improved slightly in the second half, but Brentford didn't need to really play with the same intensity as they had a 3-goal lead. They did get a goal back through Naki Wells. It was quite a nice give and go. Asai Samuel with the assist in the end, but QPR were poor. And like I said, with Brentford now sat in 3rd and with Leeds losing this weekend as well, it makes it interesting. I'm interested to see what the table looks like at the end of January. Barnsley picked up a massive result as they beat Huddersfield by 2-1 as their revival in the Championship continues. They're now only 1 point off safety and 4 points behind Huddersfield, who a few weeks ago had bridged a decent gap between themselves and the bottom 3, but after going on a bit of a dodgy run recently, they have been dragged back down into it. And you gotta say, Barnsley were the better team, especially for the first half of this one. I think the game plan was excellent. Looking into both goals, I thought Huddersfield could have done a lot better defending them. The first one, quite a simple long ball going up to Jacob Brown. He put the ball across the box, and Alex Moat was there to tap in. But Jacob Brown, someone who I wanted to touch on a little bit, if he adds maybe a few more goals to his game, then Barnsley have got a really handy asset on their hands there. He's got 8 assists for the season so far. He also set up the second goal in the second half for Connor Chaplin, putting that one on the plate for him to make it 2-0 to Barnsley. Huddersfield did respond after that. O'Brien with a fantastic strike from outside the box, and Huddersfield did make changes at half-time. I thought that Steve Munier had an impact on them going forward. He was causing a few more problems for Barnsley going forward in that second half than they had done in the first, but they were pushing everything towards the end, trying to get back into it. And I think that Barnsley a couple months ago probably would have thrown that game away, but after going on this recent run, they seem to be a bit more resilient at the back now, and with the position they've got themselves back into now, they've given themselves a fighting chance of staying up. And then we saw Blackburn drawing 1-1 with North End this weekend as well. Preston got off to a disaster of a start in this game. Tom Clark giving the ball away, Adam Armstrong running in behind, and then it was a comedy of errors really from North End at the back. He managed to slot in after just 3 minutes to give Blackburn the lead. Tom Clark's inclusion in the starting 11 was a bit of a mystery for me from the start to get. For me, Tom Clark is that sort of last resort you go to at right back. I love the guy and what he's done for North End over the last few years, but his pace is just something that gets seriously exposed there, and unless you're coming up against a team that's playing very narrow, Tom Clark's always going to be someone who the opposition targets. And with Donald Fisher sat on the bench, it was just a decision that confused me and the majority of Preston fans for that game. But Preston did get back into it. A fantastic strike from Josh Hart from outside the box made it 1-1. Josh Harper player who I am really excited for, and he's got a decent goal scoring record so far this season. That's now 6 for him in all competitions. But after that, there wasn't really all too much quality in this game. It was a bit scrappy. Rovers weren't helped by Niambi and Evans going off injured, and the flow of the game wasn't really there for this one. It probably was Blackburn in the second half who did have the better chances to go on and win it. You know, Declan Rudd, who I must say has been decent for us lately, popped up with some good saves for us once again. But Preston, we didn't really have that intensity going forward. I think that for both teams, looking at this result in isolation, it's not a bad point for either side, but because of the fact that both sides now are without a win in their last 5 games, it makes it a bit of a frustrating point in the end, really. 3 points would have been big for either side, but in the end, there just wasn't all too much quality in the final third of this one. And then we had Charlton picking up a point against West Brom, this one finishing as a 2-2 draw. West Brom did have the lead twice in this game, but Charlton showed good character to come back into it. Kenneth Zahor with the opening goal after a defensive mistake from Charlton that Zahor was able to pounce on. A nice finish from him to make it 1-0. Davidson leveled things up for Charlton though after Naby Sarr's header was headed back across goal. I believe his first professional goal, and Charlton, you know, with the bare bones that they're working with at the moment, really put in a decent shift for this one. Andre Green, someone who looked promising on counter-attacks as well. I'm interested to see how he grows into the season with Charlton. West Brom rated the lead just into the second half though. Robson Kanu making it 2-1, but once again Charlton were able to come back. Tom Lockyer with an absolute bullet header to make it 2-2. Sam Johnson managed to get a hand to it, but could only tip it onto the post, and that one ended up going in. It looked like West Brom may go on to win it. They were racing through on goal with about 10 minutes to go, but Naby Sarr with possibly the tackle of the season so far, actually. An absolutely unbelievable tackle. Sliding in, wins the ball cleanly, and that ensures that Charlton go on to pick up a point from this one. Like I said, a good point from Charlton considering the limitations they've got on that squad at the moment and the fact that they did come behind from twice in this one. West Brom at the moment, you feel like could do with freshening it up a little bit in January. I'd be interested to see if they are dipping into the market. Like I said, that lead they had at the top of the Championship in the top 2 now has been getting closer and closer week in, week out, and with how well Brentford are doing at the moment, West Brom fans may be getting a bit twitchy now. Then we had Fulham beating Hull by 1-0. I was expecting this one to be a really engaging sort of end-to-end game, but in the end there wasn't really all too much quality in this one, and it probably was the only moment of real quality in the game which ended up winning the game for Fulham. Ivan Cavallero obviously recently signing on the permanent for Fulham with an absolutely fantastic goal. Just had a little bit of space and time on the edge of the box to get his head up, looked up and just picked out that far post absolutely brilliantly. A bit of a trademark goal from Cavallero really, but like I said, apart from that there wasn't really all too much action in this one. You can see by the game stats that there weren't all too many shots on target for it. Hull pressed a little bit more going into the second half. They improved slightly, but even then couldn't really muster up much. Jared Bowen had a decent chance to get them back into it late on, but Rodak was able to claw that chance away. They did have the ball in the back of the net, but did have that goal rightly ruled out for offside. And it does appear that there is maybe a little bit of a gap now starting to form within the top 6. Fulham now have a 4-point lead on 7th place, and it does seem as though they are starting to solidify that place in the top 6 at the moment. A clean sheet for them is the real positive for them, but like I said, not the best game going on this weekend. And then we had Sheff Wednesday beating Leeds by 2-0. Only 1 win in 6 in the league now for Leeds, who, like I said, we mentioned it when we were talking about West Brom, the top 2 have been falling off recently, and only 6 points now separates Leeds and Brentford. A few weeks ago, and you know, in the month of December, it was looking like Leeds and West Brom were assured for the top 2 this season, but with the recent run that both sides have gone under, maybe we are not so sure anymore. But Leeds did have some fantastic chances, you have to say, to go on and take the lead in this game. Bamford had a series of chances. Jack Harrison was popping up in some decent positions. They did have the ball in the back of the net in the first half, but that goal was ruled out for offside. Patrick Bamford with the ball in the back of the net, but Click was ruled out for offside in the build-up to that one. It did look to be a very close decision, but Sheff Wednesday, they really handled themselves quite well in this one. Borna and Ayorfa at the back to partnership, which is just getting better week in, week out, and they stuck in this game. The chance that Bamford had in the second half when Costa set him up, probably should have done a little bit better with that one. He sort of got his foot under it and skewed it over the crossbar, but when Sheffield Wednesday did get their chance, that boy did they take it. Nuhiu sending Murphy through on goal, and Murphy, I mean, he was very wide of goal. He had no right to be scoring from where he did. Casilla was caught out of position really, and Murphy just smashed it in, and suddenly Sheffield Wednesday had the lead. And then they go and wrap it up, Nuhiu himself getting on the score sheet. But you have to say, it's a brilliantly worked goal from Sheffield Wednesday, playing out from the back, and then eventually reach with the ball across into Nuhiu, who just smashes it in to make it 2-0 to Sheffield Wednesday. And what a result that will be for Wednesday. We mentioned it a few moments ago. There seems to be a bit of a bridge starting with the top 6 now. You feel like if Forest win that game in hand, then the top 5 is looking fairly settled at the moment, with that 6th spot really up for grabs at the moment. But a big win for Wednesday in this one that cannot be underestimated. Leeds, however, it has been a bit of a worrying time for them lately. You feel like I mean, it's the perfect opportunity to go on a bad run when you are in the January transfer window. They've got the perfect opportunity to freshen up the squad, but we'll wait and see if they go and do that. And then we have Birmingham beating Luton by 2-1. A big result for Birmingham in the grand scheme of things. In my prediction video, I was backing Luton for this one, but Birmingham turned it on when it mattered. Nice opening goal for them, taking the lead after just 4 minutes in this one. Some great work from Pedersen going on the marauding run from left back. Really is probably one of the more underrated players and a brilliant fullback for them at the moment. But eventually the ball turned out wide for Bella. Him with some nice work. Got the ball over to the back post and a classic sort of Djukovic goal. The ball hooked towards the back stick. Djukovic with the header down. Sluga probably could have done a little bit better with that chance, but the header provided to be too powerful for him, and Birmingham did have the lead. Luton were presented with the perfect opportunity to get back in the game in the second half, Collins converting from the penalty spot, but Luton getting back into the game lasted all but 5 minutes as they were quite poor in giving the second goal away really. They were pressed well by Birmingham in a quick break on the counter-attack, with eventually Gardner finishing that one with a sweeping finish to make it 2-1. The dampener for Birmingham in this one was the red card for Harley Dean. Silly challenge really when already on a yellow card, got his second yellow and was sent off in the 86th minute. Luton did have the chance to get a point from this one, but Lee Camp saved well from Sonny Bradley with his feet. And Luton are left in a bit of a perilous position at the moment. Bottom of the championship, 4 points from safety now. It's these sort of games at home where they would have been prioritising to get something from to have that hope of survival. But now with their home form falling off as well, it's a bit of a worrying time for Luton at the moment with the current form they're on. Middlesbrough against Derby ended up being a really good game actually, finishing 2-2, and there was some cracking goals scored in this one. As we all know, Lewis Wing does not score tap-ins. A fantastic opener for him from outside the box to give Borough the lead in the first half, and they did go into half-time with a deserved lead. Derby did improve in the second half though. Knight getting them back into it was sort of a miss-hit cross maybe. It was hooked towards the far post, ended up catching out Piers and going in off the post to make it 1-1. Middlesbrough did have their lead back though. Patrick Roberts, who's already made an impact on this Borough side, driving them forward, making a marauding run into the box, and he was clumsily taken down by Clark. Borough had the penalty, and then McNair stuck that away to make it 2-1 to Borough. Before that, Middlesbrough did have other chances to go on and seal this one off. The movement in and around the box and how they play in the final third has been so much more crisp and clean compared to, you know, a couple of months ago when they were really struggling for goals. Patrick Roberts really looks to be the real deal for Middlesbrough though, and I think he'll have a real impact for them for the rest of the season. But Derby did eventually manage to get back into it, and it was a fantastic strike, you have to say. They were throwing everything at Middlesbrough towards the final stages of this game, and Holmes with an absolutely fantastically well taken volley from outside the box. That made it 2-2, and I'm sure that Derby, considering the circumstances, were happy with the point. Middlesbrough, disappointing not to pick up all three really. It was another decent performance from them at home where they created a lot of chances, and with them, you know, conceding so late on, that one will probably feel like more of a loss to them. Speaking about late goals though, Reading against Nottingham Forest, what a game this turned out to be. It took until the 96th minute for the opening goal, but this one eventually got going. Both sides did have chances before the opening goal did go in though. Yaku Mate had a decent opening for Reading at the end of a decent passing move for them, but that was well stopped by Bryce Samba. Bryce Samba also popped up with a couple of important saves for Forest in that second half, providing to be still one of the most consistent goalkeepers in the league. Forest also had their share of chances though. Lewis Drobin went through on goal in the second half. Raphael did well to slow him down. He tried to chip the ball over him, but it was well cleared off the line by Reading. Reading continued to press in that second half and created chances, but it was Forest who scored the opening goal. The goal coming from a corner, Ben Watson smashing it in on the volley to make it 1-0 to Forest, and when you score in the 96th minute, you're pretty much going to win it 9 times out of 10. That appeared to be the case and would have been a massive 3 points for Forest away at a very informed Reading side at the moment. But Reading, they've scored a couple of late goals so far this season, and after a matter of seconds after the restart, Obita's cross was turned in, I think in the end going down as an own goal, and there were just mad scenes at Reading and it ended as a 1-1 draw, so a big point for Reading in the grand scheme of things, turning that one around. They're now unbeaten in 7 matches, only 6 points off the playoffs, and you know, we've seen Millwall come out of nowhere into the playoff picture, and with the way that Reading are going at the moment, they could do the same. Stoke against Millwall ended as a goalless draw, not all too much quality in this one. It turned out to be a bit of a scrappy game, but come the end of it really, Stoke just 1 point above the bottom 3 at the moment. Millwall only lost 2 out of their last 14, but didn't really have enough to go on and win this game. In the first half, had a couple of decent chances which were well saved by Jack Butland. Tom Bradshaw had a decent chance, Romeo as well, but apart from that, didn't really offer all too much. Stoke, Tyrese Campbell got into a couple of decent areas for them, but like I said, apart from that and getting into the second half, there wasn't really all too much quality in this game. Probably the most dramatic moment was the Sean Williams red card that came just 5 minutes from the end of the match. Him going in quite hard on Liam Lindsay, that resulted in a bit of a scrap, but in the end he was shown the red card, but didn't really have all too much of an effect on the match with the red card being so late. So ending as a goalless draw, not the most quality in that one. And then we have Bristol City beating Wigan by 2-0. A big 3 points for Bristol City considering the recent run they're on, but things continue to get more and more worrying for Wigan at the moment, who are quite considerably the lowest scorers in the league at the moment, and considering they created quite a few chances for this one, things just aren't working out for them. The club has shown loyalty to Paul Cook, but I don't know how much longer that's going to extend for if they continue, and if the results continue to go down this path. They're only heading one way, and that's down to League One at the moment. Kieran Dowell did seem to have an impact on the way they played. I thought that he was involved with the majority of decent things they were going moving forward. You know, he picked up some decent passes, but in the end it was Bristol City being clinical in the second half which won the game for them. They did score an absolutely outrageous goal. Jeju got on the score sheet in the first half, but that goal was ruled out. If that goal had stood, goal of the season contender. But moving into the second half, Jeju was involved in the opening goal, him setting up Jamie Patterson, who is of course now back from his loan at Derby County, and then Patterson and Jeju linking up once again for the second goal, this time Patterson being the assister, lifting the ball over the top, and then Jeju with a nice poked finish to make it 2-0 to Bristol City. But like I said, what feels like a big 3 points for Bristol City and could be quite damning for Wigan, who are 23rd in the league now. And then to finish the video off with the South Wales derby, in the end finishing as a goalless draw. To be fair, in my prediction video I said that I didn't see all too many goals being scored in this one. I said that I thought it would be 1 goal either way, and I was fairly close on that, but in the end finishing as a goalless draw. I think that both sides wanted it, neither side really wanted to give it away, but in the end there just wasn't really that quality inside the final third to go on and win it. Swansea's best chance probably coming through Burst and Selena. They caught Cardiff out on the counter-attack. They had a 3v3 situation. Selena was slipped in, tried to bend that ball around the post, but just managed to come back off the post in the end and just couldn't squeeze it into that bottom corner. Cardiff's best chance probably came in the second half. Callum Patterson crashing his header against the crossbar. I think that throughout the afternoon Cardiff tried to take advantage of that height advantage that they actually had over Swansea. You know, they swung a couple of balls into the box of varying success. In the end of this one though, there were only 4 shots on target for the entire match. I think that pretty much goes on to sum it up really. The result leaves Swansea 7th in the table, with Cardiff sat in 12th with 4 points currently separating the two. But there were all the games that went on this weekend. In terms of my result of the weekend, I think I'm going to have to give it to Sheff Wednesday for that fantastic result at Ellen Rose. And then for my goal of the weekend, I'm probably going to give it to Holmes of Derby. It was a fantastic strike for that equaliser. So that pretty much goes up to wrap up today's video, but we do have some FA Cup action going on for the Championship clubs involved in midweek in an FA Cup replay, so I'll go ahead and give you my score predictions for them. So Blackpool against Reading, I'm going to say he's going to go 2 penalties. I'm going to go for a 1-1, and I'm going to say that Reading are going to come through that one on penalties. Shrewsbury against Bristol City, playing for a game against Liverpool in the next round. I think that with that added motivation, Bristol City probably just about see off Shrewsbury, so I'll go for 2 on Bristol City. Spurs against Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough did really well in the first leg to take this one to a replay, but with Spurs back at home, I mean, they're not going to make light work of it because Spurs never do, but I think they may just get through this one. I'll go 2 on Spurs. And then finally Carlisle against Cardiff. I'll go for at least 1 upset in there. I'll say that, why not, Carlisle being back at home for that one. I'll say 2 on Carlisle, but who knows, it's the FA Cup. But guys, that will now go on to wrap it up for today's video. So if you did go on to enjoy, make sure you leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. Make sure you subscribe for a bit of regular Championship content. But apart from that, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all next one.